All right, let's talk about one of the most important steps you'll take in your coding journey. User-defined functions. Seriously, this is where you go from just writing lines of code to actually building things. It's the secret to making your code clean, smart, and way more powerful. Think of it as your first coding superpower. So let's get into it.
Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the big problem that functions are designed to solve. Then, we'll nail down what a function actually is. After that, I'll walk you through the super simple two-step process to create and use them. We'll even check out the two main flavors they come in, and finally, wrap it all up with why this is such a massive game changer for you.
Okay, first up, the problem with repetition. This is all about why hitting copy and paste on your code over and over again is, well, a really bad idea. That's going to cause you a lot of headaches. Does this sound familiar? You write a few lines of code to do something specific, and hey, it works. Awesome. But then, a little later in your program, you need to do that exact same thing again. So what do? You find it, you copy it, you paste it. Maybe you do it a third time, and before you know it, your script is just a huge, repetitive mess. And the worst part? If you find a tiny bug or need to make one small change, you have to hunt down every single copy. It's a total nightmare. So, what's the fix for this copy-paste chaos? Well, let's meet the hero of our story, the function. This is the elegant, simple solution to that whole mess. Okay, so what is it really? A function is just a block of code that you've bundled together and given a name. That's it. Think of it like a mini program living inside your bigger program. You write the instructions once, give that set of instructions a name, and then you can run it anytime you want, as many times as you want, just by calling its name. And if this feels a little weird, just think back to math class for a second. Remember seeing things like f of x? That's a function. It was just a rule that said, hey, whatever number you give me for x, I'm going to do this specific set of things to it. A function in coding is the exact same idea. We just define a rule, give it a name, and then we can use that rule with different inputs to get different results. All right, let's get practical. How do we actually make one of these things and put it to work? The best part is it's a super straightforward two-step process. No, really. It boils down to this. First, you define it. This is like writing down a recipe for your computer, step by step. Then, whenever you need it, you call it. That's just telling your program, hey, go follow that recipe now. Define, then call. That's the whole magic trick. So, diving into step 1, defining. In a lot of languages, like Python, you start with the keyword def. That's your signal to the computer that you're about to teach it a new trick. Then you give your function a name, and inside parentheses, you list any ingredients it might need to work. We call those parameters. And step 2, calling it, is even easier. For real. Once you've defined your function, all you have to do to run all that code is just type its name with a set of parentheses. And if that function needs any of those ingredients we just talked about, you just pop them right inside those parentheses. That's all there is to it. Now, not all functions are exactly the same. They kind of come in two main flavors, and they've got these really great names: fruitful and fruitless. Let's break down what that means. The difference is actually pretty simple. A fruitless function, sometimes called a void function, it just does something. Think of it like printing a message on the screen. It performs an action, but it doesn't give you anything back to work with. A fruitful function, on the other hand, does a task and then gives you something back. It uses a special return keyword to hand you a result, like a number or a piece of text, that you can then save in a variable and use later on. So that brings us all the way back to the big question. Why does any of this matter? This is the payoff. This is where we see how learning this one simple concept takes your code from being messy and confusing to clean, smart, and powerful. Functions literally give your code superpowers. First off, they make your code so much easier to read and understand. They also get rid of all that repetitive code, which means if there's a bug, you only have to fix it in one place. It's a principle programmers call DRY. Don't repeat yourself. Plus, you can test these little self-contained chunks of your program separately. And maybe the best part of all, reusability. You write it once and you can use it everywhere, in this program or even in the next one you build. Look, at the end of the day, learning functions is what separates someone who just writes lines from someone who builds real organized systems. It's your first major superpower in the world of coding. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?